The War of Jenkins' Ear. In 1731, a British captain named Robert Jenkins had his ear cut off by Spanish coast guards while sailing near the Caribbean. 8 years later, when Jenkins returned home, he showed his severed ear to the British Parliament as proof of Spanish aggression. Britain declared war on Spain, calling it the War of Jenkins' Ear. The Pig War. On San Juan Island, between the US and Canada, tensions rose when an American farmer shot a British pig that had wandered into his garden. Britain demanded justice, but the US refused to back down. What started as a fight over one pig nearly turned into a war between Britain and the United States. Troops faced off on the island, but thankfully no one died, and the conflict was settled peacefully. The Pastry War. In 1838, a French pastry chef in Mexico claimed his shop had been damaged by Mexican soldiers. He demanded compensation from the Mexican government, but nothing happened. So he appealed directly to the French king, Louis Philippe. The king then demanded that Mexico pay 600,000 pesos. When Mexico refused to pay compensation, France sent warships and blockaded Mexican ports. This became known as the Pastry War of 1838. Eventually, Britain mediated peace, and Mexico had to pay France. The Football War. In 1969, Honduras and El Salvador faced off in a World Cup qualifying match. Tensions over land and immigration boiled over, and after riots at the games, the two countries went to war. It lasted just 100 hours, but more than 1,000 people died, giving it the name the Football War. The War of the Bucket. In medieval Italy, soldiers from Modena stole a wooden bucket from a well in Bologna. This simple act of theft infuriated Bologna. They raised an army of 30,000 men to get the bucket back. Modena responded with only 7,000 troops, but they won the battle. Thousands died, and the bucket was never returned. Today, the bucket is still kept in Modena as a trophy of victory. The Whiskey War. For nearly 40 years, Canada and Denmark fought over a tiny Arctic island called Hans Island. Instead of violence, soldiers from both sides left bottles of whiskey or schnapps whenever they visited. In 2022, the two countries finally agreed to share the island peacefully, ending this light-hearted whiskey war. The Emu War. In Australia, farmers struggled with emus, the giant birds that kept destroying crops. The military was called in with machine guns to get rid of them, but the emus were too fast and too many. The birds actually won the so-called Emu War, and farmers had to find other solutions.